I say hi, you say hi, we stay high, you look so pretty, yeah. I'm sweat from head to toe.
This is going to be a list of 7 different heaters or heating options that you could potentially use for your van. And the reason that I'm making this is because I remember a time not so long ago, maybe like 3 years ago, that I didn't even know that they made heaters for camping. I know, you're probably like, what are you, really? You didn't know that? And like, no, I didn't know that. You know why? Because I had never been camping before. Anyways, if you want to if you live in a vehicle, or if you want to live in a vehicle and you're considering, you're really like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do for heating my house? I got you, bro. I'm not saying that all of these options are amazing, that they're all the best. I am going to link a couple of videos that were I think they're great resources. So one of them, the channel is Bayward, and he kind of talks about forced heat exchange. And then of course Bob from Cheap RV Living, he did a whole series on heaters and really going into depth on those. I think he's got that topic pretty much covered. So this is just a list for people to brainstorm off of, or things that I wish I had known when I started, something like that. So yeah, take it for what it is. Also, we gotta do a disclaimer or go over some safety stuff first, because it is heaters and because it's heaters. So with all of these options, every single freaking one, safety is super important. So I mean, maybe having a fire extinguisher, a carbon monoxide detector, always checking for leaks. Those could be things that could save your life. And another thing that goes with every heating option, you should probably crack open a window or two, use your fans if you have them. You can figure it out, but air circulation when you're using a heater, especially if there's going to be propane involved, but literally if there's anything, you should probably crack open your window. And something to consider: mold, mildew, condensation, all of those things. So maybe have some sort of dehumidifier. If you don't, just be conscious of it and handle that as you will. Alright, here we go. Numero uno, Mr. Buddy Heater. I think this is probably the most popular. As far as what I know about it, it runs on propane. It runs on the 1 pound green cans. You can, I believe, properly hook it up to the bulk propane thing. It does come in different sizes, so I mean, that's probably a plus side to it. You can pick what's right for you, whether you have an RV or just a van or whatever. The reason that I did not go with the Mr. Buddy is because from people that I had talked to who owned it, they said 2 things: that it gets way too hot and that it breaks pretty frequently. So I just went off of their word and didn't get the Mr. Buddy heater, but I know that there are a lot of people that swear by it. They really like it. It is a very effective heater. It's pricey, but it's definitely one of the cheaper options in regards to actual heaters. Anyways, number 2, the Olympian Wave heater. That is the one that I have. I have the Wave 3. That one comes in different sizes as well. It also runs on propane, and this one is pretty expensive. I mean, I got it as a Christmas present, which I'm very thankful for. It does kind of suck. You have to buy the heater as one thing, and then if you want the legs for it to stand on its own, you have to buy those separately, and you have to buy the dust cover separately. This one is super expensive to repair. If you get dust on it or whatever, that could create a lot of issues. So if you're going to use the Olympian, I definitely suggest buying the dust cover at the same time. The thing that really sold me on this heater versus the Mr. Buddy heater was based on me reading a ton and researching as much as I possibly could. The consensus was kind of that this heater produces less condensation than the Mr. Buddy heater. The third one is maybe a little controversial, but I'm going to put number 3 as just using a stove, because it's a thing. I mean, people do it. Not everybody who lives in vehicles or who wants to live in vehicles even has the resources to buy an $80 heater, a $200 heater. You know, you got to start somewhere, and sometimes something is better than nothing. So with that being said, definitely keep like your health and, you know, science and stuff in mind, and do your own research, take responsibility for that. And again, if you use a stove to heat up your area, you don't have to keep it on for hours and hours. You turn it on and place like some bricks on top of it, or even just like a big rock or a large stone, whatever, and heat that up. And then once it's all heated up, you turn off your stove. Those things, the brick, the rock, the stone, whatever, it's gonna radiate heat for hours after you turn that stove off. And again, Cheap RV Living, Bob, one of the videos that I'm gonna link, I believe this is like his method of heating. So that's why I'm like, you guys should go watch that. So moving on to number 4. This is the like forced heat exchange stuff, or the heaters that run off of diesel. So like 2 of the most popular brands are like the Webasto, I think that's how you say it, and Espar. And then there's also this one, Propex, that runs off of propane, not diesel, but it's the same concept where air comes in from the outside and you push air out, and there's all this, you know, fancy schmancy stuff that's happening. These are pretty expensive, and unless you really know what you are doing, I think that you should probably have them like installed for you professionally. But hey, that's up to you. So from what I understand about these, they are a little bit tough on your batteries, but biggest plus side of these is that the heat is really dry, so condensation is going to be way less of a problem, if at all. And one of the coolest things about these, at least I think anyways, is the fact that they have a thermostat. I feel like that's just like so revolutionary. I mean, even though it's like not, like these aren't like brand new heaters or anything. And from what I understand, they are very comfortable. They do actually, like, they're not just thermostats for show, you feel? Like they actually do their job and regulate the temperature. Alright, next is going to be a wood burning stove. So these, they just look so cool. I think so. They give it like a whole cabin vibe and everything. But the bad things about it is the fact that like they're big. I mean, they make decent sized ones. It is possible to install one in the van, but you're gonna have to make sure to put, you know, the proper clearance around it and proper ventilation. So it's gonna take up a little bit more space than maybe like a Mr. Buddy heater or something. They are expensive, but these also are dry heat, so condensation, again, way less of a problem. You also have to think about like the wood that you put into them. You have to store it somewhere. So not only now do you have this heater, but you have to have a space to store your wood. So that could be a negative aspect of it, but either way, they're like super awesome looking. All right, number 6, I kind of just grouped together as electric, like 12-volt blankets, a bunk warmer. And then I've also seen people like inquire about like having space heaters, like if you have a generator or hookups. I think if you really like just felt so set and passionate about having a space heater or something. I personally don't find these options to be the most realistic, but to each his own. Like if that's what you really want to do, I bet there's a way that you can figure that out and do it and prioritize your power to where you have enough. Alright, lastly, number 7 is going to be super old school. Candles. So they have like candelier lanterns, candelier lanterns where you put candles in them, and from what I have heard, they do generate a substantial amount of heat, and I don't know that it would be enough to heat like a whole van per se, but if you just want to go the cheap route, if you don't really get cold, if you don't need a heater that often, you know, I mean, it's something you can experiment with, you could try. And I mean, if you've ever looked up like camping on Pinterest or whatever, you've had to have seen like people who use like those clay pots, like the planting pots, the ones that are just like brown or tan or whatever, and then they put a candle, like maybe even like just the tea light candles, and then put the pot over it. It'll, you know, radiate some heat. Sometimes it's not necessarily a matter of like what you would like to do, what you would want to do, what the ideal thing is to do. It's kind of just like you do what you gotta do, and that's the end of it. So if it's like freezing and all you've got are candles, or all you've got is a stove, like I bet you're gonna use it. So those are my 7 different ways to heat your van, and stay warm, stay safe, peace out.